We welcome each and every one of you to our virtual Sunday experience. I'm Reverend Kurt Condra, and I'll be serving as kind of the MC, as I mentioned before. And we've got a guest musician, Patricia Bahia. She's all the way from Los Angeles. And then Kelly Isola is our guest speaker this morning. Kelly is, as I mentioned, she's from Unity Village. She works out of Unity Village. She is a brilliant Unity minister. She's a brilliant writer. You'll probably recognize her name from many of the publications that Unity writes. She also is really creative and effective at creating very meaningful experiences in terms of rituals or ceremonies. And I just read on your website recently, Kelly, that part of that really arises out of having been living all over the world at different points in your life. So you bring this amazing sort of global perspective to your work. And I know you chair the interfaith group there in Kansas City. So the whole message of oneness, you embody it, you live it, and you just bring it into the world in a beautiful way. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work that you've done with our board and for being willing to join us this morning to share that work with the rest of the community. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. I always love when people, you send information to somebody with a bio, and actually, I think it's a spiritual practice that everyone should take on, is to write up a little bio and then have someone introduce you. Because more often than not, you listen to someone introduce you, and at some point, you kind of go, wow, she sounds awesome. I want to know her. Right. And so it becomes this experience of owning and claiming what we already are, what I already am. I just, sometimes I don't know what, as a writer, I don't know what I think until I write it down. And that's sometimes the same kind of idea. But um, was doing church. Sometimes I go to church in Australia, which is Saturday night because they're so, the time difference is so huge. So it was the same experience last night, having someone, describe you or talk about you and bring your own purpose, your own why, to life. And you're listening and you're like, yeah, that's a cool person. I want to be like her. I want to be like him. So I invite you to make that a spiritual practice, to write up a bio of yourself. I know, and I can hear like, I do this to, if it's any consolation, I inflict that exercise on ministerial students that I teach for in seminary. So you wouldn't be alone. And I'm like, oh, it's so hard to do. And I'm like, no, it's not. Claim your divinity, claim what you are, claim who you are. And thank you, Patricia. I hadn't actually, I confess, heard your name before. I don't know why, because I know pretty much so many musicians out there, but now I have another resource. So you'll be getting more gigs if you want them, because I'm happy to keep sending them out. Yeah, yeah, wonderful. And perfect songs. Like each one you brought up, I'm like, oh, it's like she was living in my brain. It's perfect. Um, I am talking about, actually, the little nut of it is why. The little nut is why. And what I say is, and it's discovering our why. And the why is, think of it this way. As I keep talking, just hold on to the why. And the why is really like, why what? Why are we sucking air? That's the comment that I say to most people, is like to bring the focus back to why. So when I say why, I say purpose, I say mission, belief, cause, they're all the same thing. And as Kurt said, it's not a something aspirational. It's not something I want to reach to or get to. It's something that already is. Our why, our purpose. Why am I sucking air? Like, why do I get up in the morning, and why do I, it's the driving force behind what we do and how we do it and the things that we bring to the world. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the work that I've been doing with Kurt and the board, and um, and bring you into that conversation and to just show you where we are. But I want to do, but I want to connect it to Advent, and today is the first Sunday of Advent. And depending on which Unity church you're in, your focus is faith or your focus is hope. I'm not sure how both showed up, but frankly, both of them bear repeating and both are good to talk about. But in terms of Advent, you know, the season of Advent is an invitation to listen and to be attentive. It's like we're ready for, you know, there's a knock on the door or there's a doorbell ringing. And Advent is really about when the someone knocks on the door, when you hear the doorbell, it's our, in this season, it's our, what we do is we answer the door and we embrace whoever, whatever visitors at the door, we embrace them more fully. And we embrace them more fully because we're more conscious by the time we get to the end today, and you have this context and clarity and embodiment, embracing the why, which is already, you know, alive for you because it is who you are. But by we answer the door and embrace every visitor, and we're being Emmanuel. And Emmanuel just simply means God with us. So when we hear that song, you know, O come Emmanuel, it means God with us, and that's us. If we believe our principle in unity, that there's one presence and one power, and we're it, then God is with us, and there's a whole bunch of different gods sitting here in front of me. In fact, I get to scroll through 3 pages to see God with us, which is even more fabulous. So if you need a little jolt of God, just scroll through the pages and see all 68 participants, 68 little gods sitting on screen. But Advent is like Easter, like Christmas, like some other holidays. If you're a minister, you may, most I know, at some point reach a point, if you're in ministry long enough, where how can I come up with a new talk about Christmas, or a new talk about Advent, or a new talk about Thanksgiving, or a new talk about Easter, you know, because the truth is we know the story. There's no spoiler alert. We already know this story. We already know where it's going. We already know what's going to happen. So how do we talk about this in, you know, hold on to what's most important and yet talk about it in a way that is about today? Because we can get overwhelmed with suffering. We can forget that there's darkness, that the light is in the darkness, and that it's through the darkness that the light is awakened. So Advent is this time of just acknowledging that and seeing that, and that you are the kingdom that's unfolding. So when Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, like really. So it's this ever unfolding journey that is you. And the word Advent means there's something coming. And so it's just paying attention to what's coming, paying attention to the knock on the door, paying attention to the visitor, and embracing the visitor. So I want you to hold that and hold that idea as I kind of move through the rest of what I'm talking about. You know, Jesus' life crossed, you know, lots of different people's paths. And frankly, I want to know what happened between 12 and 30. I want to know the people that, you know, that he met with in between. Of course, we'll never know. But there is this intersection of that goes on with, you know, our why, our purpose, our belief. Why are we sucking air, and how we're being in the world. So those two, and that's what I'm going to share with you. So I think I'm gonna go to the PowerPoint, because there's a few things I want to make sure that there's clarity, that you have some clarity about how did we, as I keep going, you kind of go, how did we get there? Or what's that all about? So you see, I have my little statement, why are we sucking air? Because that's my way of reminding people, because I don't know about you, but I can get derailed periodically. I can kind of get dragged off course. I'm easily distracted, you know, ooh, shiny object. And so I have to, you know, my way of coming back to the why, the cause, which is the ground on which I stand, that drives everything that I do, is I come back to, okay, why did I get up this morning? Why am I sucking air? So it sounds kind of, you know, it's not very, it's not the best grammar, let's say, you know, or it may not sound very, you know, highly spiritual, but it's the ground that I stand on. It reminds me to be focused. So what I want you to hold on to, what I want you to think about, what I want you to kind of just immerse yourself in is these questions here on the page. because I'm going to unpack this. If you think back to a time when you joined this community, and if by joining this community, that means you showed up last week for the first time, or you've been here for 35 years, or somewhere in between, just think back to when you joined, when you connected with the community, and think about what inspired you most, right? And when I say what inspired you most, if you think about, well, I remember so and so was speaking, or I went to such and such event, or whatever it was that inspired you the most, when you have that in your mind, what I want you to do is now connect to the feeling, connect to the visceral response. Oh, and is that what inspires you to keep coming back? Right? When I went to my first a unity service, and then I stayed, at some point I stayed, I kind of did the revolving door for multiple years. But when I eventually reached a point where I just stayed, and even with the revolving door, there's a reason I kept coming back. It was, at first I said, what inspired me the most was the minister and the Sunday talks and the 1,800 people. You know, it was just so much fabulous energy and music. Like there were all these things that inspired me. But when I stopped and I went underneath, so what was it about those things? How did I feel about it? And what was visceral about it? It was, I felt I had a sense of belonging. I had a sense that I was seen. I felt inspired. I felt I was at home. You know, some of these, you know, it's the visceral emotional response that I want you to hold on to as I keep talking. And then what inspires you to keep coming back? It could be the same thing. Okay. So most organizations, churches and any kind of organization, when they start thinking about their why, their purpose, their mission, right? Why are we here? Why are we sucking air? They tend to think and act and communicate from the outside in, meaning they start, well, we got to have classes and we got to have, you know, XYZ music on Sunday. And we, you know, all of these, the things that we give, right? And then we sort of work our way in, sort of the outside in, and you get to a point where you're like, okay, we offer all these things, meditation, services, prayer chaplains, prayer time, Sunday services, classes for this, for SEE, you know, the Dia de los Muertos, you know, celebration you just had online. You know, we have regional events, we have, we work with, you know, a local homeless community or a food bank. You know, there's all of these activities, and those are all kind of the what's. That's what we do, and then so most places work from the outside in. They start with what they're doing, and then communicate into the why, the purpose, right? Our belief. What we want to do, and what we did was the successful organizations, ones that are sustainable, ones that are truly inspiring and really come to life and invite people into staying. That question that I asked you, what inspired you? Why do you keep coming back? They function from the inside out, meaning they start with the why, go to the how, and then go to the what. So moving from the inside out. So let me unpack that a little bit more for you. Why is our purpose, our belief, our cause. It's the driving force behind everything that you do. The how is your strengths, they're your values, they're your, you know, your guiding principles. They're the actions that you take when you're at your natural best to bring the why to life. And then your what are the, for lack of a better term, they're the products and services that are offered. And there's so many different what's. They're the tangible manifestations of the why. It's the actual work that you do. So most organizations, including churches, start there and work their way, you know, from the outside in, because it's easier to start with what's easiest, rather than starting with the why, which is the driving force behind everything that you do. Remembering that it's not aspirational, it's what you already are. It's already, that's already alive. And in a minute, I'm going to show you the process that we went through. So the what's come from our neocortex. This is a little science going on. And the neocortex is the newest part of our brain. It's at the front, and it's the rational, it's the logical, it's the factual, it's detail oriented. It's why, no pun intended, we, that some churches like you guys have so much fabulous activities going on, lots of what's, right, and are busy and connecting and really coming to life, because there is, you have people that are working to make the what's happen that, have busy neocortexes going on, right, that are good at detail oriented and good at logical and making up the plans and getting people in place. You need it, right? None of these, why, what, or how, why, how, or what, you need them all. None is more important than another for the to be grounded, for sustainability, for for success, for lack of a better word. The how and the why, though, elements are the limbic brain, and the amygdala, which is the earlier brain that we have. The limbic brain is responsible for our decision making. Most of us, I think, are familiar with, have probably at some point in your life you said, I should have gone with my gut, right? I should have gone with my gut. It's your gut. That's your instinct. That's your wisdom. That's your intuition. That's the emotion. Our decision making really is an emotional thing. And what's kind of funny about it is that some people are taught, no, don't make your decisions based on emotion. When the reality is our best decisions actually come from emotion. It's just, are we aware of what the emotion is? But our limbic brain is responsible for our why. It holds the why we're here, why we're sucking air, our purpose, our belief, because there's no language to it. It's that visceral. Remember the question I asked you, what inspired you to come? And you were thinking of all the what's, like activities kind of thing. And then I said, go a little bit deeper to the feeling, go a little bit deeper to the emotion, go a little bit deeper to, what did you feel in your body? That sort of, it was almost like this magnet that I keep coming back. That's how it was for me. So that's where the why and the how live. So what's wrong with the what? How many of you have ever heard of Samuel Langley? Yeah, Samuel Langley. He focused on being first. He was actively working to create first flight. Alongside the Wright Brothers. He was a competitor of the Wright Brothers. They were working at the same time in the different places. He was focused on being first. There was excellent market conditions, financially really well. He had more than enough funding. He had the most brilliant minds at work, working on this. But he gave up because he wasn't first. The Wright brothers got to it first. And so Samuel Langley just disappeared into the history books. Had he done it differently, like started with the why and moved out to the what, I don't know what he could have created. He had funding, he had brilliant minds. It's just where's the why? So what's right about the why, keeping with the Wright brothers, nobody knew who they were. They were just the right people. They had no money, but they believed in the promise of flight. Their why was very clear, that we believe in the promise of flight. Don't know how, haven't gotten to the how yet, haven't gotten to the what yet, but this very tightly held belief, the focus on the promise of flight. So they created the first man-powered flight back in 1903, and Mr. Langley disappeared. So why does why work? Because people will follow those who lead, not for the person, but for ourselves. We connect. When we start with why, we are inspired, and we find others that are inspired by the same why, right? That intuitive, you just know, right? I know I'm coming back here. I know that this is where I belong. I know that this is, my place. These are my peeps, right? We know. One man, one speech, decades of impact, because everyone connected to the why of what he was doing. So when you start with the why, what we started with, so I started working with the board and needing clarity. You know, we're moving, I don't know if you've noticed, but in a pandemic, there's an enormous amount of change, right? Everything is new, right? And sometimes I like new things. I like new clothes. I like a new car. I like a new computer, a new camera. That's kind of fun, right? When you're going digital, get new little gadgets. Those are fun. And as Kurt said, there's a whole lot of change going on. And how do we meet that? And what you discover is that if you're not operating from the inside out, it makes it really hard to make decisions, because what's the driving force? So what we did is we spent time together, and we started with the storytelling, because in the stories, and these are just some of the stories, they're little snippets of stories that people told, and they talked about why, right? What inspired them? That first question I asked you to hold when you first came to the community, and why you kept coming, and what inspired you. These were a few of the stories that I'm sure many of you watching are like, oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. If you remember any of the stories, pause for a minute and feel what that story meant for you. And I know right now there are some big decisions sitting, kind of that everyone's holding, that need to be made. And we want to make those decisions from a place of we're crystal clear of why we're here, right? So what we did is we told stories, and from those stories emerged a whole lot of verbs, a whole lot of ways of being, a whole lot of why we're here. And what I did is I took those words and made them into a little word bubble. So you can see all the words that showed up into the storytelling. And these are all ways of being. I like that one, bold, risk taker. And these were all the different ways. So when we showed up at XY event, this was who we are. We were engaging, we were open, we were creative, we were collaborative, we embraced, we were authentic, right? All these little ways, not little, but all of these different ways. And you can see some of the words pop out a little bit more than others. And what that tells us is that this is what's already alive for you. This is what, so in the terms of Advent, you go knocking on the door. Advent is a storytelling season, and that's what we're telling, is a story. So we're telling the story here, and you can see by kind of the size of the words, and the bigger the words, the more often it shows up. So you get to see this is why we're here, to be this way. So if we go back to PowerPoint here. So as we took those stories and started having conversations about them, and as we moved into taking all of those stories and moving it into, this was the impact, and here was the contribution, which is why, right? Why are we here? Why are we sucking air? Why does someone keep coming back? This is our why statement. We discovered that Unity North Shore why, that's been alive like for years and years and continues to be alive and drives what you do, is that Unity in North Shore is we create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. You're already doing it. It's not something aspirational. You already create a safe place where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. And to live it, all those other words, right? Collaboratively and authentically and boldly and with love, from integrity, like all those little words on that heart. And I'll send you the link to that little thing if you want, Kurt. It's fun to just look at and play with. So I just want to pause for a minute and allow you to just kind of sit with this and take a minute and think about your experience with Unity of North Shore, and has this ever been your experience? I'm going to venture a guess that yeah, this has been. I've had this experience, and I've just been a few times, right? A safe place where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. So this is why we're here. Again, not something we're striving towards, but something that already is. And I know that um, uh, there, that sometimes in this process, someone may think, well, wait, I wanted to be, in the conversation. How come I didn't get to be a part of? Um, and I get that. And what I would invite you to do is just be with this for a moment, to just sit with, we create is this, have you lived this? Have you participated in being this? And I'm going to take a stab in the dark that everyone on here and those that will listen can absolutely know this and have this experience. And the reason that I know that is because it was born out of your stories. It was born out of all those stories that were in blue and so many more, because those stories included everyone that's here and those that aren't. And it was just a matter of having the why kind of surface to the top. And then from there, we went the next step into the hows, right? How do we make this why manifest? Our strengths, our capacities, our abilities. How do we do that? Well, here's how. Unity in North Shore, this is how we make that purpose come alive. We act on principles of inclusivity. We encourage creative spiritual exploration. We embrace innovative possibilities. We collaborate to create community and personal growth, and we live truth principles. These were the 5 that just surfaced to the top that say how you bring that why. So we create a safe space for people to take risks, to live their deepest truth. And this is how we do it. We act on principles of inclusivity. We encourage creative spiritual exploration. We embrace innovative possibilities, and we collaborate to create community and personal growth, and we live truth principles. The next piece is the what. And the what's are all the things you do. Those are the tangible actions that you take that unpack each of these hows. So if I would venture a guess, you could look at your calendar and pick anything and it fits. Not necessarily all 5, but it fits in here. And moving forward, what will happen is to refine that even more. Even something like a mission-based budget, right? Where you look at a budget and you look at all the line items and do these all fit within our why? Remember, it's not about making the why fit the what. It's about having the what in service to the why, because the why is already here. It's not something you're trying to be. You already are. If you don't know that you create a safe space for people to take risks, to authentically live their deepest truth, now you know. That is why you're here. And if you didn't know that's why you show up, that's why you show up. And I think I would venture a guess most everyone here has had that experience and been able to experience those core strengths of living truth principles, of practicing principles of inclusivity. So there's a whole lot, more to come. There's all the what's that need to, as we moving forward in a pandemic and moving through change and continuing to innovate and the church is not the building anymore. Not that it ever was, but the building is a what. So we learn how to navigate through, different what's, expanding and offering new what's, and other ones kind of fall by the wayside. You look at a budget and the line items and which ones are in service to our why, which bring the why to life, which don't. We look at our classes, our meditation, our prayer, our board members, our, for lack of a better term, the products and services. so to speak. So I can tell you that I've done this process many times with churches, and my experience has been when a group, as I'm with a group, and all of a sudden I'm the one that's all weepy with goosebumps on my arms, my limbic brain goes, yep, we're here. This is the why. This is why you're sucking air. This is your purpose. That's your North Star. That is who you are. And all of the storytelling involves all of you, and it brings it to life. That's why we start with the stories. So I'm just going to wrap that up here and remind you that that when we are laser focused on our mission, we are a powerful force for humanity. And so each step that we take is being more and more focused on bringing that why to life, making that manifest. And I'll keep working a little bit more with Kurt and the board, and offering more whys and directions. And but I want you to know that you have a phenomenal board that has been holding all of you. We have been holding you in our hearts and at our meetings together to reach the place of knowing with full voice that we are a safe space. We are absolutely a safe space that allows you to take risks, to live your deepest truth. So can we get an amen? I'll say amen. So thank you. There's always more to say, but I need to, like most ministers, you give them a mic, they bleed a sermon. So I just want to pause there and thank you, and bless each and every one of you, and know that we'll continue to do the work, and as you will, because you guys are phenomenal. We're going to take that into meditation, I believe. Yes? Yeah. I think Patricia has a song.
You're right in front of me, but it's like you're in another place. I can see your mind moving faster than a full-speed freight train. You got so many plates you're spinning, you're afraid to even let one fall. You don't want to miss a thing, but you're missing what means most of all. Be here now. Be here now. This moment in time is one of a kind, and it's never coming back around. So be here now. You say it's only temporary, you smell the roses soon. I understand the feeling, there's so much you think you have to do. Remember that your worth isn't measured by the work you've done. The only thing that matters in the end is how much you've loved. So be here now. Be here now. This moment in time is one of a kind, and it's never coming back around. So be here now. Be here now.
Let's take a deep breath together. If you're comfortable, you can close your outer eyes or just lower your gaze to maybe 12 to 18 inches in front of you. And just repeat that. Be here now. Be here now. And as you bring all of your energy, your breath, your heart, your body into the center of your being, think of a time, think of an experience that you have had with Unity of North Shore where you felt inspired, where you felt empowered, where you had a sense of belonging, a sense of community. Pick one specific time, whether it was one-on-one with someone or a big event. Now go a little deeper and identify the feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling honored, being seen, being heard. Just bring those feelings to life. Feel them in your body. Allow them to come to life. And now I want you to remember how you were after that. So that event, whether it was with one person or something large, and you're remembering it and holding how you were feeling. And when that was over and you went on the rest of your day, how were you different? How did that impact you? We create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. So hold that and know that and breathe that. And this is your community. This is why we are here. And that why never changes. Whether you're with people, whether you're at Sunday service or at the grocery store. So just hold that gently and say thank you Thank you. And amen. And amen.
Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube video. If Unity's message of positive spiritual living resonates with you, I hope you'll subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date on other lessons as we post them. Also, if you're able to support us financially in the work that we do in the world, please check below for contact information. You can visit our website, find more about what programming we offer, as well as how to give. Blessings.